In tonight's headlines, a bomb plot mastermind is sentenced to almost 24 years in jail, while a co-conspirator and leader of the Slaying Brigade gets a 13.5-year term for their role during the 2019 social unrest. Toraji edges past Hong Kong without causing much damage, but makes it into the record books, becoming the first storm to hit Hong Kong so late in November. And for the first time, it was business as usual at Exchange Square as the stock market remained open despite the number 8 typhoon warning signal.
In a landmark sentencing under United Nations anti-terrorism law, 28-year-old Ng Chi-hon, the mastermind of a plot to shoot and bomb Hong Kong police during the 2019 protests, has been jailed for 23 years and 10 months, while 26-year-old Wong Ching-kern, leader of the so-called Slaying Brigade, the team behind the thwarted deadly plan, was sentenced to 13.5 years behind the bars. High Court Justice Juliana Barnes said when rendered the judgment today that this case is unprecedented as there are no sentencing guidelines for this charge in the legislation and no prior cases exist in Hong Kong. The defendants aim to kill police officers, prompting the court to set a starting point for sentencing at 24 years. After considering Wong's guilty plea and his cooperation as a witness for the prosecution, a mitigation plea was granted. The other alleged mastermind, Ng, was sentenced to a total of 23 years and 10 months for conspiracy to commit bombing and possession of firearms. During the same hearing, 5 others received jail terms ranging from 5 years and 10 months to 12 years. They were all among 14 involved in the high-profile case. 10 of them were charged under the United Nations Anti-Terrorism Measures Ordinance for the first time since its enactment in 2002. 7 denied the charges and stood trial from April to August this year, with 6 acquitted by the jury. While Ng's associate, Lai Chun-pong, 33, were found guilty by jury in August. The defendants had planned to set 2 bombs off along Hennessy Road in Wan Chai during a lawful rally on December 8, 2019, which marked the International Human Rights Day, but the mastermind duo were arrested by police hours before they could carry out the plot. Quentin Yang, Cable News. Typhoon Toraji, the latest storm to hit Hong Kong during the year in history, yet not the last this year, has slowly moved on, leaving the city largely unscathed. The Hong Kong Observatory issued the number 3 signal at 10:20 a.m. to replace number 8 that had been up for more than 11 hours, signaling a gradual return to normalcy across the city. The storm resulted in the cancellation of 10 flights and caused 20 delays, alongside reports of 13 fallen trees and 1 injury, who is receiving treatment at a public hospital. Despite the late-season tempest, Hong Kongers maintained a light-hearted spirit. This resident said the scenery is especially beautiful under typhoon, adding that he specifically ventured outside to appreciate it. While this man noted that the winds were not particularly fierce and he was not surprised by the late storm, given climate change. However, experts continue to advise caution during severe weather. As businesses and offices reopened after T8 was dropped, commuters began their journeys to work, mostly feeling unbothered. This commuter said he was happy about the half-day off and satisfied with the timely alerts on T3 from the observatory. Many workers left earlier than usual to avoid potential traffic jams, but surprisingly found their commutes were mostly unaffected. The MTR responded by enhancing its service schedule with increased train frequency on busy lines like Tsuen Wan and Island Line, operating every 2 minutes to accommodate the rush. While large crowds were seen at bus stops, most were quickly thinned out after bus services resumed. Bidding farewell to Typhoon Insane last week and Toraji today, Hong Kongers are told to brace for Usagi, currently wreaking havoc in the Philippines, along with another distant tropical cyclone named Man-yi. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Hong Kong stock market opened as usual and maintained seamless operation for about 40 minutes under typhoon signal number 8 this morning. marking the first ever typhoon trading day after a new practice allowing trading under severe weather came into force on September 23rd. The screens outside Exchange Square remained dark during early opening session, with banks and several securities firms remaining closed. However, it did not mean the stock market halted. Gone are the days when super typhoons or torrential rains shut down the city's markets. As one of the city's largest brokerage network operator, traders came to work as usual. This man said the severe weather trading arrangement had been implemented for a while, so trading was normal and no clients had inquired about trading under the typhoon. Most of our colleagues left home early today, with some arriving earlier than usual, said this man. Edmond Hui, Chief Executive Officer of Bright Smart Securities, confirmed that their operations remained smooth during the typhoon, as their clients can open accounts, make deposits, and withdraw funds via the company's app as usual. The typhoon trading session lasted less than an hour as the Hong Kong Observatory downgraded the signal at 10:20 a.m. Hui believed this experience enabled the industry to adapt to a full-day typhoon trading session in the future. Meanwhile, Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury Christopher Hui said the stock market operated normally under Typhoon Toraji, reflecting well implementation of the new policy, with the half-day turnover reaching nearly $81.5 billion. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Strong wind signal number 3 will remain in force for most of the time tonight as Typhoon Toraji slowed down a bit while moving away from the city. Local winds are still generally strong, with occasional gales at offshore areas and on high ground, the Hong Kong Observatory said, adding that the warning signal will be lowered or cancelled when the threat posed to Hong Kong by Toraji is further reduced. Meanwhile, tropical cyclone Toraji will move across Luzon Strait tonight and tomorrow, entering within 800 kilometers of the city, as it is expected to move in the general direction of southern Taiwan and to maintain a distance of over 500 kilometers from Hong Kong. The weather forecaster said its direct threat to the territory is not high.
Chief Executive John Lee said Hong Kong is set to sign a free trade agreement with Peru this week during the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meetings. The city leader arrived in Lima on Wednesday evening local time, ahead of the APEC Economic Leaders meeting to be held on Saturday. During his visit, Lee will also attend bilateral meetings with other APEC leaders and meet with local business leaders. Lee said in a social media post that the free trade agreement between Hong Kong and Peru, which will cover areas such as goods and services trade, aimed at creating a more favorable business environment for Hong Kong companies operating in Peru. Meanwhile, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao, who arrived in Lima earlier, held bilateral talks with Thai Commerce Minister to explore opportunities for collaboration. Yao expressed gratitude for Thailand's continuous support for Hong Kong's bid to join the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. The Commerce Minister also held meeting with Indonesian Trade Minister and will attend the APEC Ministerial meeting on Thursday. Lee and Yao will return to Hong Kong next week. This year marked the third time Peru hosted the APEC summit, following events in 2008 and 2016. Leaders from 21 Pacific economies will discuss about strengthening trade ties, innovative transformation, and sustainable development under the theme Empower, Include, Grow. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump left his resort home of Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida for the first time. since his landslide election victory last week to meet outgoing President Joe Biden at the White House. It is the first time the pair met since their presidential debate in late June, and Biden had invited Trump to discuss a smooth transition of power. While in Washington, Trump met with fellow Republicans who, after winning the U.S. Senate, held on to their majority in the House of Representatives, giving the former president full control over the legislature. House Speaker Mike Johnson won the Republican nomination to remain in the position and also secured the backing from the president-elect ahead of a full vote early next year. Apart from his trip to the nation's capital, Trump has been steadily picking candidates who will be a part of his new administration. The former president has tapped Iraq War veteran and former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Not shying away from controversy, Trump has nominated Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz to be his Attorney General. Gaetz himself was under investigation by U.S. Department of Justice for allegations of sexual misconduct. Another likely member to join Trump's dream team is Fox News anchor Pete Hegseth. The former Army infantry captain is picked to be the new defense secretary. Sachin Katwi, Cable News.
China's annual production of new energy vehicles has surpassed the 10 million unit mark for the first time, making the country the first in the world to achieve this milestone. Industry group China Association of Automobile Manufacturers said the benchmark was reached on Thursday morning, outrunning the total output of 9.59 million units last year. China started tracking NEV sales and output data in 2013, with only 18,000 units produced that year. By 2018, NEV output on the mainland reached the million level. The figure further advanced to 5 million units by 2022. With a month and a half remaining in the year, automotive sector experts projected that total NEV output will exceed 12 million units by the year end.